What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and another weekly running and training vlog where the main purpose of this video is for you to tell me about your week of training. I want to know about your successes and I definitely want to hear about your setbacks. Now, how I usually go about this video is I give you the introduction, I ask about what you've done in the last week, then we talk about something, then I talk about myself at the end where I tell you my training. My training has been very limited, well, limited in the running sense. I have spent a lot of time in the saddle, but we're going to get to that towards the end. It's just going to be very short. First things first, I know a lot of you are training for races. I definitely want to know how that's going. We've got our full marathon season quickly approaching. And as many of you know, I did have to bow out of the Boston Marathon due to my ankle injury. So I'm looking forward to living through each and every one of you that is racing a marathon in the next couple months. But guys, I did just want to talk to you for a few minutes about sugar, carbohydrates, diet, that kind of thing. Now, many of you that are training for some longer races, by now, the distances that you are running are creeping higher and higher and higher. And you are probably getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, which to me, at least, is half the fun of marathon training. You know that insatiable hunger that you get after a really solid week of training, your mileage is higher than usual, and eating is just better than ever. So I guess I really want to know how much you guys think about what you eat when you're training. Do you think more about your calorie intake and not just calories, carbs, fat, protein? Do you think about that before you consume? Or do you think, well, you know, I'm running so much, I'm training so hard that the furnace is hot enough, anything will burn. I'm just gonna eat it all. Because that was a popular way of thinking for a while. Not in the last couple of years. I think generally speaking, you and I, the running community, we've gotten a little healthier, but it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking because I'm working out so much, I can eat more. So let's talk about carbs. We all love carbs. I don't even have to put that question out there. I know that you are a carb lover. And during exercise, our body utilizes carbs in the form of glucose. And glucose assists in fat metabolism, it delays fatigue, it promotes recovery, and it supports the central nervous system. In high intensity activities, like if you're running a tempo run, carbs are responsible for turning fat into glucose quickly. And when you bonk, you know that feeling when you just run out of energy? That's because your glycogen stores have been depleted. And there aren't enough carbs to turn the fat into glycogen. Glycogen is usable by your body quick enough. So you end up feeling run down. That's why it's important to fuel during your race. Oh, and generally speaking, your body has enough stored glycogen to run for about 2 hours at a moderate intensity, which is about marathon pace. So it's a pretty good clip. But for the vast majority of us, we don't have enough to run a full marathon. So how do we know what to eat? What is best for us as athletes? What is best for us to help fuel us through our runs and to remain somewhat healthy while we're doing it? I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because you are a runner doesn't mean you're healthy. So studies have shown that when runners consume a high glycemic food like white bread or ice cream or one of those high sugar energy bars, which a lot of the time is just a candy bar, when they eat those high glycemic foods an hour before they go for a run, they become fatigued more quickly. So that study did find that runners performed significantly faster when they ate a low glycemic food. So an example would be an apple with some peanut butter over a high glycemic food, which would be a piece of chocolate cake. So knowing that, what would you rather eat? And that is a trick question because I'm sure most of us would rather have a piece of chocolate cake before going for a run. But the apple and peanut butter is clearly better and you will run faster eating that low glycemic type of foods. Guys, if you're into this whole running jam and you like watching running videos on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up. It just helps YouTube send this video out to other runners that may get some value from it. Oh, and if you're not subscribed, consider doing so right now and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video, which is at least twice a week. So ultimately, when you fuel with a high glycemic index type of food, like that white bread, the chocolate cake, that kind of thing, and then you go for a run, you're more likely to experience a sugar crash, which is just running out of energy. You have burnt it all very quickly, but a low glycemic food will keep you going for longer. Guys, I know I said that a chocolate cake is what we all want, but I think we all have to look at our sugar intake. And the idea of me talking to you guys about runners eating sugar came to me as I was eating a bag of chocolate chips. From the bag, just shoveling them into my mouth. I generally think that I'm a somewhat healthy individual, and yet every day I am eating chocolate chips straight from the bag. My friends, that is not healthy because it is useless calories. They're not doing anything for me. I am just craving that sugar rush. I have a sweet tooth. And there was a study out of France that showed that intense sweetness, not just refined sugar, but also artificial sweeteners, they can be more addictive than cocaine. What do you think about that? Guys, I don't know about you, but I kind of associate cocaine with bad things. But most of us don't think the same about sugar as we do about cocaine. Say Sky has a great t-shirt that says smoke track, not crack. There's no funny adage like that about sugar to keep us away from sugar, to lead us into running. Here's a channel contest and I will think of some kind of prize, but come up with some kind of running slogan that has sugar in it and that also rhymes and that is related to running. So like smoke track, not crack, but sugar and running related. And I don't know how I'm going to judge it. I think I'm just going to judge it with my own opinion, but if I like it enough, I'll put it on a t-shirt in the Matt B Running merch store, linked below. Okay, so I kind of got off on a tangent talking about that saying, but the whole thing about sugar being addictive can lead to unhealthy behavior and possible weight gain, which could lead to you not getting the returns that you're looking for in your running. So if you're likely to give in to your sweet tooth after a long run, like let's just say you've gone out, you've run 15 miles, you're feeling pretty good, you come back, you have a Mars bar. Well, even though it's important to get those calories in, we're going to talk more about that in just a second. By having a Mars bar, you are inadvertently predisposing yourself to reach for that Mars bar on your day off, when your calorie needs are not the same as they are after a long run. So keep that in mind. And if we eat too much sugar, we're not just talking about vanity pounds. We're not just talking about a little extra weight we're putting on. That constant influx of sugar makes our pancreas work overtime. It could lead to type 2 diabetes down the road. It lowers your HDL cholesterol, which is the good kind of cholesterol, and it raises your triglycerides. Okay, now this video is kind of all over the place, but let's just talk about nutrition while we're doing sports for a second, because timing is everything. So our body runs on various energy systems, and at any given time we are burning a percentage of fat and carbohydrates or sugar. On a very easy aerobic run, the type of run that we do most of the time where we're at a conversational pace, we're kind of right down the middle. We're burning about 50% carbs and 50% fats. During an interval run, when we're getting up into an anaerobic state or we're getting on the very, very high end of an aerobic state, that ratio starts to shift. We're burning less fats, but more carbs. So to break it down, when you're in a race and you're having these energy gels, these carbohydrate-rich energy gels that taste so good, that fuel that you're using is going into your body and it's being used right away. If you're sitting on the sofa and you're eating a bag of M&Ms while you watch The Blacklist, your heart rate's low. Your body doesn't need that sugar. So that sugar is stored as fat. That's where the additional pounds come on. So I know we've kind of been talking down about sugar and eating it at the wrong times, but when is the right time? Well, I'll tell you, after a good workout or after a race, you have a very short window in order to refill your glycogen stores. Now, after a race, your muscle cells are open and they're receptive. They are looking to be filled up. And when I say a short window, I mean it's pretty short. You have about half an hour. If you can refuel in that time frame, you are going to be taking in the sugars that your body is craving. And the faster you can refill those glycogen stores, the faster your body is going to get the green light to start burning fat again. Now, of course, I recognize that it's not always ideal to refuel within half an hour after a very hard effort or after a race. We all know that exercise dampens the hunger. So when you just finish running a hard half marathon or a full marathon, you're not always hungry. Guys, I encourage you to force something down to refuel that body, because as time ticks on, your insulin sensitivity declines and the muscles take longer to absorb that glucose. Now, if you skip this recovery intake altogether, you're really going to play havoc with that whole event that you've just raced and trained so hard to get through. You've put in a lot of effort to get to this point, to get to the finish line. You may as well recover right. Now, let me be clear. I am talking about very hard efforts or races. That's when it's very important to have that immediate influx of fuel to refuel your body after you have put it through its paces. Not really necessary after an easy aerobic run. Alright guys, I am going to link to a couple of articles in the show notes below. Go ahead and check those out. They kind of go into what I've been talking about in a little more depth. But my training week was pretty good. Of course, if you follow me on Strava, you've seen a lot of what I do. But this week I did knock out 232 miles on the Peloton, which is pretty good. And when I'm not running, I can give a lot more time to the Peloton, and that's about 110 miles more than I usually do. And this week, my ankle has been feeling a little better. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me post something about that, but I did go out for a short run just to kind of test it. I had no pain before. I was able to hop up and down without any discomfort. When I was manipulating the ankle, pretend this is my ankle. When I was manipulating the ankle, I couldn't find any painful spots, so I figured it was safe to go out. Now, I did still have a little bit of swelling, but I did only go out for a couple miles and pretty happy with how it went. It's encouraging. However, let me tell you, and I couldn't help but notice how much my effort level had increased. I had only taken 2 weeks off of no running, and going out for a 2-mile run and then a 5-mile run felt very difficult. So if you have taken any time off from running and you're wondering how to get back into it, let me just encourage you by saying it's not easy. I don't actually know how that is encouraging. But the point is that it's not easy for everyone. And if you just push through, if you go through appropriate training techniques of slowly building back up, you will get to where you were again. Guys, gotta say, it's actually been pretty good not running because I've had time for a lot more stuff. I spent more time with the weights. I've done more yoga than I have in a long time. And generally speaking, just doing other stuff that I wouldn't do because I'm always out running. So I can't wait to get back to running, but it really hasn't been so bad taking a couple of weeks off. I just wish this 2-week break hadn't come at a time where I'm training for the fall marathon season. But this happens. If you're a runner, this could happen to you. And there is always another race around the corner. All right, guys, thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. I post new running videos at least twice a week. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.